Welcome to the podcast where we bring on remarkable people to tell their stories.
I'm Paul Gilman.
I'm Daniel Lance.
And this is Pod So One.
Quick announcement before we get started. We have now added comment sections to our website. So if you have thoughts to share, head on over to podso1.io to leave a comment. You can also send us feedback on how we're doing directly through our website. In all cases, we'd appreciate your thoughts. This week we had Craig Grimes, who probably should be a stand-up comedian, come on to reminisce with Paul on their salt and pepper basketball games, share his experiences growing up as the 12th of 13 grandchildren, and explain how life can fit into Winnie the Pooh characters. We recorded our conversation with Craig before the death of George Floyd, so we had him come back on to give his follow-up thoughts on America's relationship with race toward the end. So here's Craig.
What do you want to know about Craig before we get going, or you just want to go in?
I mean, like, I have all the questions in the world because I know really nothing about you, Craig.
All right.
I mean, like everything. I know that you guys. I really want to talk about how you guys became friends.
You want to talk about salt and pepper?
I thought you guys were friends in high school.
He says pepper and salt. I say salt and pepper.
You got different priorities, I see. So I thought you were friends in high school, and then you played like street basketball with each other.
No. We knew each other when we were younger than high school.
Yeah. You were,
I'd go over to Berkeley Town. You come over to Beverly Road.
So what are you, 2 years?
I'm 2 years younger than you.
Younger, so you're 51?
I will always be 2 years younger than you. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you'll never catch up.
Craig, Scooter.
Yeah, bring it in.
Craig, Scooter, JC.
Yes.
Coco,
Rod.
Timmy Walsh, Rod. It was all these guys 2 years ahead of me. And you'd notice I'm a large person, Dan, so I could hang with guys 2 years older than me, even though I didn't have the advantage of 2 years of growth. Mm-hmm. And I was athletically much better than all of them. That's not true at all.
That is not true.
But I would play with him. We play football. We play basketball. A lot of basketball. And the one court we play on Beverly Road. We'll just call it my side of town.
Yeah, it was on the right side.
Was a dirt
court. Yeah.
You ever played on the dirt court?
Nope, never. Isn't that like a tennis thing?
Clay court. Yeah, but I'm talking about like
brown dirt,
Central Virginia clay mixed with brown topsoil kind of thing. And there was the right sideline. This was a basket behind a shed in somebody's backyard. It was Coco's backyard.
Yeah.
And there was a ridge.
Yeah.
That was maybe, I don't know, a foot higher than the rest of the dirt court, and you could launch from that thing and do all kinds of crazy stuff. Like you were eye level with the rim when you stood on that thing.
Yeah, but then what happens when you? When
it was
you hit the
ridiculous.
ground?
We would dribble. You'd have to dribble.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to play the 45-degree angle of the mound. It was crazy.
Yeah. They had the advantage, Daniel, because they knew all of the nuances of the dirt and the different bounces.
Where not to bounce the ball.
Right. And then they somehow strategically let gnats go at some point in the evening. Like you're playing basketball and all of a sudden you just get swarmed by a whole bunch of bugs. You couldn't even concentrate.
It didn't bother us.
No.
Dang.
No.
They were well organized.
They were. It was.
So was this a bunch of white dudes on one side and a bunch of black dudes on the other?
It was always racial.
What was it? We mixed it up every once in a while. But there was some weird, I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Was it conscious? Or were we just like, no, we're on one side and you're on the other?
Yeah, I think it was conscious. I don't think we didn't.
We called it salt and pepper back then.
We did. Yeah, we did. Yeah, it was. We should have kept scores and written down.
We definitely should have
had there
written
been
them down.
a history paper trail.
Oh, yeah, because your side's going to claim 70% victory.
Oh,
and my side's claiming 70% victory.
Trust me.
There,
especially once you see Coco and JC and everybody else that he's talking about.
His cousin Scooter couldn't jump. He had less than an inch vertical. Am I wrong?
You might be right. I saw him yesterday. It didn't look like he could jump still. So.
I'm talking about when he was 13, 14, 15. Oh, man.
He turned 53 yesterday.
Oh, man.
Yeah. yeah.
Happy birthday to Scooter.
Yeah.
So when y'all played, was there animosity or was it like friendly salt and pepper?
It was always friendly.
It was always friendly.
There was some smack talk, but
Yeah.
it was friendly smack
It was
talk.
friendly. It was friendly. We were very competitive and stuff, and everybody wanted to win and stuff. But yeah, I don't think we didn't never come to blows. We're like we the Pistons and the Bulls.
Right. We kept playing with each other. We'd go to Berkeley Town and play.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
You'd come over to Beverly.
Yeah, they didn't want to travel that much to Berkeley Town, though.
All I know is, and you claim this isn't right, but I swear I saw 9 dudes on 3 bikes coming from your side of town.
Well,
Craig reminded me the other day that it actually wasn't 3 bikes; it was just 1 bike, but it was 3 dudes.
Look, in terms of how far it was, it really.
It was like a mile and a half, maybe 2 miles. Craig acted like it was a marathon to get over.
We would talk like probably like at 12 and be like, yeah, we'll be there. And it took us literally sometimes like 3.5 hours to get there. Just through a variety of reasons. Whether
What's point A and point B? How far really is it?
what, probably from here, from your house right here, I'd say how far is the courthouse from here? A mile?
No, it's 2 miles.
Of
maybe.
2. So maybe a little bit less than that.
Yeah, it's mile and a half, 2 miles.
Yeah, mile and a half, 2.
Walking.
Yeah.
Or
the
three
bike.
or 3
Or the
dudes on
bike.
1 bike.
Yeah. And this was
Do
back.
you know how that works? 3 dudes on 1 bike.
I can picture 2, but not 3.
All right, so one's on the handlebars,
Okay.
one's on the seat,
Okay.
and then there's a dude pedaling in between those 2.
Like standing on the pedal.
Yes. He couldn't sit for that whole 1 3/4 trip.
Or depending on the bike, if the bike had a crossbar, you could sit sort of
Oh,
sideways.
yeah.
You could sit sideways. But it was very, very unhealthy. I mean, seriously.
It didn't look fun.
Could you imagine, like, just having somebody on the window, window bars and stuff, and you're riding right now? You'd be like, okay, you can't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
This is not going to end well.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to do that for miles.
No.
It had to be painful
Oh, it was.
for every single person out of the 3.
Yeah. I mean,
I saw like a couple times 3 dudes on 1 bike, and then I just changed it to 9 dudes on 3 bikes.
see, look at all the stuff we had to go through just to get there.
Right?
Like in today,
They were exhausted by the time they got there. So that's why we won 70%.
Why did Pepper have to come to Salt's neighborhood?
Saul would go over to Pepper's neighborhood too.
yeah, but the courts over at Gandy, like if we did, I mean, if other people were playing.
We were kids.
Yeah, we were kids.
We were getting kicked off.
So they weren't going to let us take up a court. So really like we had our own.
We were relegated to the dirt court behind our friend's shed. But those were fun days.
Those were
man.
fun days. Yeah. And this was when Daniel, you could wake up in the morning, you left your home, and as long as you were back home before the street lights came back.
Yeah, before the sun.
Yeah,
went down.
your mom didn't have to ask about you. You were good. You were good in the community. But now you can't even envision something like that happening, during the summer. You couldn't imagine like not hearing from your kids for 8 or 9 hours.
There was no national boogeyman on social media or CNN or whatever. Yeah.
No. Totally different place. Totally different.
Even did your parents know that y'all were going to, I guess, Paul's neighborhood?
Nah.
It technically wasn't my neighborhood, but it was a certain side of town.
No, my mom didn't know. All she knew is that we weren't home.
Oh, I'd go to Berkeley Town. She'd have a clue I was over there.
Yeah.
They didn't care.
No, as long as you were out of the house. Like back then, your parents did not want you in the house. And your summertime was outside. Like there was no summer vacation.
And there were no
for
handheld
us.
devices and any of that stuff.
No. Yeah. So you just,
So was it natural for you to hang out with each other, or is the default to like hang out with people of your own race, but you guys somehow decided to hey, let's go do some salt and pepper?
Well, so let's talk about and look, Co may not like this. We don't have to use his last name. Coco's family.
Yeah.
Paul Courtney Pollard, PCP. I just said his name. There it is. His initials are PCP. That gets me every time. PCP. I don't think his parents to this day even know what that is. You told me the story Saturday. Tell us the story about your family and Coco's family.
So my family dynamics and Coco's family dynamics. So I have an older sister who's 10 years older than me. Coco's sister is the same age as she is. They graduated from Patrick Henry together. Mm-hmm. My next oldest sibling is a brother. Coco has a brother. They graduated together. My youngest sibling is my sister. Coco has a sister. They graduated together. And then Coco and I. So you have a black family, a white family with 4 children. And all 4 of those children graduated from the same high school
at the same time.
At the same time.
And I asked if the 3 older siblings in each family hung out with each other.
No.
Your answer was
no. They didn't. They didn't know each other. I mean, well, they may have known the name, but back then, like when my oldest sister was in high school, the schools weren't. They had just gotten segregated
or integrated.
Right, excuse me, I said segregated. But but they didn't know each other. But Coco and I grew up.
Yeah, you graduated high school in '85.
Yeah, graduated in 85.
Your oldest sister graduated in '75.
So I think I met Coco like in Henry Clay. I want to say the first or second grade. So that was like back in 72, 73. So I mean, when you think about it, how many people do you know you've known?
Yeah,
or
not
even
many.
Consider a friend for 45 plus years or even longer. And then to just throw in that black-white component. Yeah. I mean, that's highly unusual. I tell my kids about that today. I mean, Coco and JC and Paul and all these guys, like these are friends. Like these are people that,
normal good people that don't think twice about it.
Yeah. But we've become so segmented and divided now. And hell, that's a whole nother story.
Well, you've lived in Arizona 3 different times
in the last 5 years.
Right. Yeah, exactly right. I can tell you all about Arizona and crazy shit out there.
Do y'all think it would have gone a different way if there wasn't basketball?
We had other sports.
We played. Yeah, right.
Sports is the question.
It is. It was sports. Yeah, we played football.
There was no handheld devices. There were no video games you just plop down. There were 3 channels, 4 if you counted PBS.
Yeah.
And so you got outside and you did stuff, and it wasn't like we're going to go on a nature trail for a walk. I mean, you wanted to be competitive and play team sports.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And it brought us together.
It did.
Nice. So sports were important. Okay.
Same way it is today.
Yeah.
I mean, sports is important when you talk about, people building relationships and connecting with one another and stuff. What's one of the best ways to do it? You watch sports.
You watch it.
Play sports. Play it.
Yeah.
Breaks down lots of barriers.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. All right. So tell us about growing up. What was it like being 5, 6, 10 years old?
Oh, man. So I will tell you. So I am the 12th of 13 grandchildren that my grandmother had. One of passed away. My cousin Tracy, she passed away when I was 11. She was 13. She had leukemia. And at the time in 77, I remember her hair falling out and stuff. And, didn't know what was going on. I would see her bleeding and stuff. And I would, ask my mother, I was like, hey, is she going to be okay? And it's like, yeah. And, and back then, parents, I guess for protection purposes, they never wanted to tell sort of the truth.
Yeah.
And unfortunately she passed away in 78, but I remember that Friday afternoon, like my cousin coming to Gandy and telling me that she had passed away, and I was just, it was devastating.
Couldn't believe it, right?
No, couldn't believe it. She was the first person that I'd known that had passed away.
How old was she?
She was 13.
Wow.
Yeah, way too young.
Yeah. But growing up, there were let's see, I want to say there were 11 of us in a 4-room house.
I remember that.
Yeah. 11 in a 4-room house.
Crazy.
My grandfather built the house. I think we were just talking about this the other day. I think like in the late 40s, did not have any indoor plumbing.
Oh yeah.
So the first time that I took a shower was 1974, 75. We had a well.
Well, how old were you then?
8, 9 years old.
Oh, wow.
We had a well. That you would prime and get the best spring water. I'd be like, oh my God, you want to talk about like water back then? Like this was water you could just, it was so cold and refreshing, but you drank water all the time. But I remember we would go and get the little milk gallon jugs and fill up and fill them up, and you'd have gallons of spring water. And then when you washed up, you put it in a little tub, you sat it on the stove, and it heated up, for 25, 30 minutes. That was hot water. And then you're sitting there butterball naked, standing on a linoleum floor, getting washed up in the wintertime, and you're like, oh my God, it's cold as hell. Wait, why is my feet freezing? You're sitting there shriveling. Then you think of like George Costanza, shrinkage, it was shrinkage. The water was cold. The water was cold.
Right. And like I didn't grow up that way. Now, I didn't grow up with a shower because my mom, we didn't have a lot of money when I was a really little kid, but my mom had a preference for baths. And so we just took baths all the time. But we had town water.
Yeah.
Y'all weren't connected to town water.
No, this was just a well out in the front yard.
Yeah.
Little did I know. But yeah, it was. So that was the first part. And like I said, and for people that know me, because our family was so close, like all of my first cousins, all of us are like brothers and sisters. So even though I have 3 brothers and sisters, I've really got 11. Because we were just raised. Everything that we did together.
All first cousins.
All first cousins. Summer vacation was out in the front yard. Like we just hung out together all the times. And there's different age lineations, but as we've all gotten older, like we've all connected, and like our family, like they just love getting together and just having a good time. And there were legendary parties growing up. Legendary. Oh my God. Like if people, like my mother and aunts and stuff, like they were partying, they were 65, 70 years old. We were dancing to Marvin Gaye and drinking. By the time I was 16, 17 years old, I'd probably had already been drunk probably about 25 times in my life. Because it was just
because you were one of the younger first cousins.
Right. It's like, come here, boy, you can have some of this and stuff like, come on, taste it. It was good. It's just a different time.
So let's go back to no plumbing. When did y'all get seriously? When did y'all get plumbing?
We moved to an apartment. Yeah. So I moved over to Berkeleytown.
Okay.
So we moved over to Berkeleytown. But my grandfather's house, they didn't even. I think they got plumbing back in 80. I want to say like in 86.
Yeah, you'd already graduated high school.
Oh, yeah. Oh, close to it. Maybe I wasn't out of high school, but they did some renovations to the house. But it was like it was definitely like after the 80s. Or after the 70s. Excuse me.
Yeah. So you 11 people in how many bedroom house?
3.
3 bedrooms. So when you went to sleep, how many people were in the bed with you?
There were 3 other people in the bed with me.
That couldn't be a restful night ever.
No. But you slept, but you didn't feel like you didn't have anything. Like you felt like everything that you needed, you had. And we never wanted for anything. But you just, but our level of exposure was so controlled. As you didn't know a lot about the outside world. Yeah, right. So if you got further outside of Ashland, or even, going to Richmond and stuff was like, there used to be a bus that would stop outside my grandmother's house, and the city and the bus would take you to Broad Street.
Really?
Yeah, I remember hopping on a bus one time. Huh. Now, they don't do that now. They're not going to allow city buses in the county.
Right.
They'd be like, no.
Back in the day, they did that.
Yeah, back in the day, that was at least, one time.
Well, if you wanted to get certain things, you had to go into Richmond.
Yeah, you had to go into Richmond. Yeah. Ashland, at one point, we didn't have in a town, there was no traffic. I think there was just the one traffic light that was
54,
and that was just a blinking light.
Yeah, it was a flashing light.
Yeah, that was a flashing light, so that wasn't even.
We literally grew up in a 0.5 stop like that.
Yeah, but you see, and you just see Ashland now, you'd be like, what the heck?
Well, you were saying to me the other day, if you had grown up in the inner city.
Oh, God. Yeah.
With the income that your family had.
Yeah.
What What would that have been like?
Well, I do think because Ashland was just far enough away because we all didn't have transportation, and as my cousins and stuff got older, of course they would go into Richmond. But I'm a believer that I think if we grew up in Richmond in public housing in that environment, then I even no matter how strong I know our family was, I think that it would have opened us up to a lot of
really bad
issues that currently exist. I mean, when people say, "Hey, you're a product of your environment," I think that carries a lot of weight. I do.
It's hard to overcome.
It is.
It's extremely hard to overcome.
It's just one additional challenge that you have to sort of try to deal with. I mean, I'm sorry, Daniel. I'm probably not going to script Paul because
you're fine.
You was talking childhood and stuff, but I'm a believer, man. That listen, there's nothing guaranteed one way or the other, and what you do things every damn day in your life that either increase or decrease percentages, either percentages of success or increase your percentages of failure. That's all you can do. And there is no exact blueprint to say, Daniel, if you do these 5 things, you're going to have an unbelievably successful life. Now, your percentages of success will increase, but there's no guarantee that you're going to be successful because you do all these things and stuff. So that's sort of the way that I try to look at everything. And certainly, and now in times and stuff, you got to think okay, I'm potentially facing some challenges here. How do I overcome this, or what does this look like, and what does it feel like?
So, why did you think that living in public housing would lower your percentage?
Because I think that there are just so many. What's the word that I'm looking for? You're just exposed to so many different vices. I think, not just from a crime perspective, but drugs and sex and all of that. I mean, all of those things are if not handled properly, can be explosive. Mm-hmm. So, and then you're talking about times back in the 70s where there wasn't there was a lot of information and communication, and there were very few controls, as Paul and I would say it, like I said, you woke up in the morning. Hell, if it was a weekend, you left the house and, all you'd do is just come back by the time the sun went down. Mm-hmm. That was it. So I couldn't imagine being exposed to all of that, at a much greater scale.
Yeah, no information, no real control.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're just leaving people up to their own.
Oh, and you're surprised when a teenager does something that's pleasurable.
Right. Yeah.
But you were out in the county.
Yeah, I was out in the county.
You didn't have much, but you felt like you had less exposure to those kinds of things.
Yep, I do. I think I grew up a little. I wouldn't say naive, but I think just overall, like you said, just overall exposure to things wasn't as great as it would have been if we would have lived in the city of Richmond.
You had I guess, how many families was that total in that big one family with 11 cousins?
It was my grandmother and her 3 daughters,
and then all their kids.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you I just feel like the closeness between cousins is not very common.
Yeah.
Anymore. Have you felt that as well? Being from your generation to this.
Yeah. So one of the things that actually the 12 of us, when we do get together, and this was Paul, the reason I couldn't come over last 2 weeks ago.
Now I understand the Zoom thing.
So we had a virtual Zoom happy hour 2 weeks ago. And, and obviously this has been going on for a while and stuff, but I was over at my sister's house and, and everybody else was on camera. And I think at one point we may have had close to 20 people online. So it was good to see everyone and stuff, and everybody's checking in. But, you just get so partially excited to see people. I started drinking 2 hours before the Zoom. And by the time the Zoom, we were on Zoom for 4.5 hours. like the 20 of us.
He said he partied like it was 1990.
And then a small set, because there's always an after party, Daniel. Anything that goes with my family, there's a party.
There's a pre, there's a party.
Right. So people always want to know, well, where's the after party? So a couple of my cousins and stuff, they stayed online, I think, to like 2 o'clock in the morning. Just sitting there, just, probably telling a whole bunch of lies and folklore stories and stuff. But it's just, we're a social group and you just want to connect. But, we often talk about like, man, the closeness that we have, it's not the same for our kids. And our kids have sort of been like, they connect with commonality. So fortunately, my children are close with my nieces and nephews and, within my little pod. But as we've expanded out, that same type of closeness doesn't exist now. It's unrealistic for it to exist now because I've got family in Charlotte and Philly and Georgia and stuff.
Yeah,
so,
you're not first cousins living in the same house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's just not feasible to have that type of. But we understand that and know that, and and even though no matter how many stories we try to tell our kids and stuff, like they will never have that level of closeness because it's just you just don't see that now. You just don't do that.
So out of your 11 first cousins, how many are going to listen to this podcast episode?
I think maybe 2 or 3.
Really?
Maybe for a little bit, and they won't listen to me for like I mean like
Is it because you're one of the younger ones?
Well, because they'd be like, that's just Booney talk. We've heard that before.
You're saying Booney for the first time. Yeah. All right, so let's back up. Where'd your nickname Booney come from?
So my let's see. I said what I was 12 out of 13. So my cousin that was 11 out of 13. Maybe I'm going wrong or whatever. But she said I had on an outfit one day, and remember this was back in the 70s. Everything's loud and colorized and stuff.
Disco.
She said, She said you look like Bozo. Bozo the clown. There was a clown, Bozo. You remember?
Oh, yeah.
Remember the Seinfeld episode, George Costanza? He was all damn upset about, he was asking the guy, you don't know Bozo the clown? And the guy was like, who's this Bozo the clown?
Craig has watched way too much Seinfeld.
Oh, I know. But when George was talking about the dude and the clown said, dude, stop talking to me about a big shoe clown. Who is this guy? So you have to see that episode. But she called me Bozo, and I was like, and somehow Bozo evolved into, and I was very skinny, so it could have been bony. I was I took a picture, Daniel, I want to say probably in 82, 83. I had on a white shirt. I looked like one of the kids over in Cambodia for USA Feed the World. I was like...
You were not a thick guy.
I was
growing
not.
up, for sure.
I was not. I was skinny as hell. So I remember like wearing jeans, and it was like 16, 18 in the waist. I was like, my God.
What in the what?
I was skinny. I was
A
skinny.
16-inch waistline? How's that even possible?
I don't know.
I was 22 inches out of the womb.
16 might be an embellishment, but I was skinny.
All right, so it's a combination of Bozo,
and
Boney.
and Boney, and I think, and it just got to Booney, and Booney sounds good. It does.
It's unique.
It is. There's not a whole bunch of Boonies.
You're the only Booney I've ever known.
Yeah, but you know what? I think there was a character. I can't remember if it was The Wire. Somebody was a crime figure. Maybe I saw it like on the first 48 on A&E.
Is the Wire fashioned after your life?
No, no, I didn't have any crime. But when you hear somebody says Booney, you go like, oh dang.
Oh yeah.
You know, like seriously. But I was like, and if someone calls me Booney, then I'm like, oh God, they really know me. All right, so they're Berkeley town. Though.
So real quickly, I ended up getting a job at a bank that became another bank that is in Richmond's giant. Nobody will ever figure it out. And Craig was working at the bank, and I didn't know that. And I guess we were off Parham Road back then.
Yeah,
is that where we were?
I think so. Yeah.
And I see Craig, and I'm super excited because I don't really know anybody there except for Jimmy. And I see him, and I yell across the floor, "Booty!" We're in this stuffy bank. It's a very white bread kind of place to begin with. And Craig shuffles over very quickly, but trying not to be noticed by anybody after I've yelled "Boonie" at him. And he said, "Paul, I go by Craig." You can't say Booty here. I'm like, it's your damn nickname. Why can't I say Booty?
Right, Booty didn't come out at that very big base.
Oh yeah, but I tried to get it to come out. You wouldn't let me. I called you Craig.
I know you did. I
10
did.
years.
I had to try to be. I needed a career, man.
No, I understand. I think you could have had a career as Boonie at that really large bank.
Yeah, but I'm not sure people really take you that serious if you just, hey, what's your name, Boonie?
Craig does sound a lot more official.
that might not be a way to increase my percentages.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
See, it all comes.
Yeah, it's all about odds. Right. Hey, so can you rattle off the names of all the nicknames of your cousins? Because I only know two of the names.
Okay,
besides yours.
We all have nicknames. So Scooter, and then Butchie, Buster. Nicknames: Keaty, Tootsie. Robbie's not written.
Spuddy. That's a new one for me.
Spuddy.
Wayne's a first cousin, right?
Yeah, Wayne's first cousin. All of these are my first cousins. Robbie. Yeah.
Well, Robbie's kind of a boring nickname.
Yeah, Robbie is. Yeah. I mean, Breek. We called him Breek.
Breek. That's a lot more. That's
Breek.
exotic.
Yeah.
That's almost French.
Yeah. He was Breek the Freak.
It's a great nickname. That's an absolutely wonderful nickname.
You want to talk about creativity when we didn't. So obviously we all love playing sports, and I just have to tell you this real quick. So I talked about summer vacation was out in the front yard of my grandma's. Mm-hmm. So we didn't have prior to going to Gilman's and shooting off a basketball hoop. We took a empty bleach Clorox box, cut the top off, cut the bottom off, then took a nail and tapped it up against a shed, and then we shot basketball with a tennis ball. And let me tell you, if you can hit a 15-foot jumper, okay, with a tennis ball,
that's hard
through a Clorox. You want to talk? You thought your game was on fire. I'm sitting here like, oh, boom, boom, boom. Hey, now you might shoot 1 for 25, but when you made that one, it made you feel good.
You forgot about the other 24, yeah.
It did. So we did that. We played a shitload of wiffle ball.
Oh, I love
wiffle ball. And then my cousin Breek the Freak, we played slow motion football. We had a game also, stolen base.
Wait. Go back up to slow motion football.
So
it's hard for kids to stay in slow motion, right?
But it would be like, it was like remember the little electronic football game that you plugged in and played,
and it vibrated,
and it vibrated and stuff. But we sort of like had something like that.
Were you playing tackle?
No, this was it.
Was this like a play?
No, it was
a drama.
No, you everything was in slow motion. You
doesn't make any sense to me.
You didn't get to start running all of a sudden like the throw was slow motion. You caught the ball.
Did everybody know what was coming? Or was it actual competition?
It was I think we only had like maybe 4 of us playing. Because like my older cousins, they were going to play slow motion football.
I'm younger than you. I'm not playing slow motion football.
You would have back in the 70s.
I was around you back then, Craig. Y'all never introduced that to my side of town.
Well, no, that might have been when we were very bored. Yeah, I don't think we ever brought that over to the white side.
You had to be bored to play slow motion football.
Slow motion.
Well, I fired 200 tennis balls in that Clorox bottle. We've been playing wiffle ball for the last 3 hours. What else y'all want to do? Hey, I got this idea. All right, so
that's amazing.
You spent 6 glorious weeks after high school at University of North Carolina.
High Point.
Yeah, High Point.
High Point College. Yeah.
Why did it not work out at High Point?
So, So back up to like graduation, right? Everybody, most people, you graduate, you go to college. I was like, oh God, I got to do something. All three of my siblings had gone to college and graduated, and I didn't want to be that one, one that doesn't make it. So I think I told you Saturday, the only two colleges that I got even a postcard from was App State, Appalachian State, and High Point.
Nothing from Virginia schools.
No.
Why is that?
Maybe I didn't apply, or I think they had like some type of school fair at one day, and maybe App State or something had some brochure there. I filled it out, and they sent me something.
Yeah, they weren't heavy recruiting back in the day.
Right. So it wasn't like, maybe it was racially based or whatever, but the fact that, two schools.
But there are a lot of HBCUs in Virginia.
Yeah, and I thought I could, and that was fine. Like even, I didn't know what I wanted to do and really didn't have a plan, but I was like, hey, you know what? I really, really like going to Charlotte. My sister lived in Charlotte.
Yeah.
I love Charlotte, North Carolina. And once I found out High Point was only like 100 miles from Charlotte, I was like, shit, I can go to High Point. And then, like on the weekends, I can go and hang out with my sister.
So your decision was based on proximity to Charlotte?
It was. Had nothing to do with the educational, like, oh, well, I'll take advantage of this.
Of their psychology program.
High Point is the furniture capital of the South. I didn't think I was going to be a furniture maker, but I remember getting there and, and you're in your little dorm in your quad, and the guy that I was roommates with, he was from... He lived in Germany for a part and stuff, and I think, I think he was from Jersey, and then the other two guys in our suite, one was from Northern Virginia, one was from Jersey. So, I'm the only black. These guys, there's
out of the four or
out of the four,
yeah,
out of the four, but we got along real well. And at that point, North Carolina had a 19-year-old drinking age, and we drank every day.
For 6 weeks.
I took 4 classes. 4. I only had, that's only 12 hours.
You were supposed to take 5, right?
Yeah. I took 4 classes. I need to start
so
off.
Very early on, you weren't serious.
Right. I was pacing myself. Right. I was
like, I don't know how math works out here, but I think I'm going past 4 years.
Right. 4 times 12. So I took 12 hours, 4 classes. I remember I had religion and French. Oh my God. I was like, okay, mid-semester, got an F. Out of 4 classes I had 2 C's and 2 F's. I failed religion.
You got to work hard to fail religion.
Religion's not easy. Trust
me.
It's not the 10 Commandments. It's not.
Is it like basically understanding the Bible?
It seemed a hell of a lot more complex than that.
Yeah.
I tell you, not that I understood the Bible back in '85, but all I know is like midterm after first semester, I had a 1.0. I called my mom Halloween night. I said, Mom, I got to come home.
This isn't working
This isn't working out. So and my mother didn't drive, so she had to ask her nephew, my first cousin, to come down and pick me up. And he came down and picked me up. Oh, and from the time that I called her to the time that she came the following week, I was playing a basketball game, pickup game, and I hyperextended my knee. And anyone that's ever torn anything or hyperextended their knee, I've never in my life been in so much pain.
It's unnatural.
My knee I dislocated it, and then it popped it back. And I just remember being in so much pain. I was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing I've ever felt. So I had this great big brace on, for the entire week. And then when she came and got me, of course, so I head back home, 4-hour drive from High Point back to Ashland. And I'm just sitting there like, what am I doing with my life?
Right.
So I got back home in October, November. So from November to like June or April, November to April, those were like the worst 6 months of my life because I felt like man, I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't have a plan. You go out and get jobs. Dude, I sold Kirby vacuum cleaners.
That's hard. That's hard.
Door
to door, right?
Yeah. I remember this so vividly. We were selling Kirby cleaners, and this was, they would pick you up and drive you to the location. And I worked in Richmond, but we were going to sell Kirby vacuum cleaners down in Newport News. And they dropped us off in the hood in one of the housing projects in Newport News, right off of 64. And it was snowing. It was a cold, snowy night. I'm like, what am I doing?
Door to door,
Newport News, knocking on people's door. Now, you can look around. And at that point, Kirby calls, like, I want to say like $400 or $500. I mean,
the one I bought back in the mid '90s was more than that.
Yeah, it might have. Yeah, exactly. And Kirby
vacuum cleaner.
Cleaner. Oh, great vacuum cleaner.
I bought it 25 years ago. Still works like a charm today.
Oh,
that's a lot for a vacuum cleaner.
Yeah, this isn't some like $30 Walmart.
No, right. You make an investment when you get this.
So what were they thinking? Dropping you in the hood to sell $400 or $500 vacuum cleaners?
Didn't seem to line up.
Yeah, I don't think it was a business model set up for success. I mean, and it wasn't just me. It was like 3 or 4 of us and stuff. And then they say like, okay, we'll come back and pick you up in 2.5 hours. And you just think about like how crazy and ludicrous that is now.
I wouldn't want to do it.
I wouldn't want to do it. Yeah. And I didn't think about it, but I remember specifically knocking on one person's door and all the lights were off, but the door was cracked. So I started knocking on the door and it cracked open. And I was like, hello? And the guy sitting in the dark, and I know it's a guy. Come on in, man. Come on in. I was like, no, I was trying to like do a demonstration. No, come on in. Come on in. I was like, no. And after that night, I said, Mom, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, because who knows what was on the other side of the door.
Exactly. And that was just, know, yeah. So those were hard times. So actually, when I applied to Norfolk State and I got acceptance into Norfolk State, one of the happiest days of my life.
Oh, I bet.
One of the happiest.
I remember seeing you shortly thereafter.
Yeah, because I'm like, okay, I get a second chance, and and I had done so much partying in Norfolk. Norfolk was a good school, and you could party and have fun, and I did, but I didn't see college at that point as like, hey, I'm here to party. I saw college as like, I need to get my education and get the hell, out of here in 4 years. Like I did 4 years, no summer school, no nothing. Last semester, I took 21 hours, was working at Freshen's Yogurt. And actually, when I graduated with a degree in political science, the manager of the store, the owner of the Freshen's Yogurt in Greenbrier Mall, he offered me an assistant manager job selling yogurt. And I was like, Mike, I appreciate that, but I can't sell yogurt. I couldn't have gone through all the crap that I've gone through.
There are these Kirby vacuums, and
I couldn't do that. So luckily, I said, no, I'll come back home and find a job. And I ended up finding a job at a bank in Richmond. And you know what's funny to this day? I started the Tuesday after Labor Day. And I remember when the HR rep called me like that Friday, because back then, they didn't give you 2 weeks notice. So like I got a phone call Friday, like, hey, could you start Tuesday?
Right.
It was like that.
That's how it was for me, yeah.
The starting salary at that point was $14,001. And I was like, why the dollar? I was like,
because that gets us to minimum wage.
Right. So now when you do that, you break that down, you'd be like, okay, 2,080 hours,
Yeah, you and I know that math.
You're like, okay, that's $6. That's less,
minimum wage was probably $5 back then.
Yeah, that's like $6.75 per hour.
And it might have been $4.25 back then.
Yeah, it might have been. It might have been.
Like
that. Yeah. So I think they were praying, a little bit over that.
And how much did like a burger cost?
Not much.
75 cents.
Yeah, it was less than $1 for sure.
Maybe. Yeah, I think a cheeseburger maybe cost 50.
I just felt the oldest I've ever felt in my life
when you said a burger.
Oh my god.
I'm just wondering because it sounds like not a lot of money in today's money, but inflation in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Because a burger now is like $6 Yeah. And then
I sound like somebody's grandfather
Dude,
talking about how much gas costs. back in the day.
My cousin's girlfriend kept Shalana, and it was $25 a week for her to, so every Friday we had to pay her $25, and I was like, why so much?
Now you can't get somebody to show up without paying them $25
I'm like, wait
an hour.
a minute, we're giving her the diapers, we're giving her the food. All she got to do is watch
Just
her.
don't let the kid hurt herself.
Right? Why is it called? Why are we paying you to make sure that? So that's it. It just goes to show, man. Like things were so different, so different.
Have you been watching the Jordan documentary?
I did. I watched it last night like a kid.
Don't tell me I haven't seen it yet.
is that the
You haven't
dancing
seen
one?
any of it?
No, I've seen. It's weird. I've done it all on demand. I have 1 through 6.
Okay.
Then it skips 7, and then it gives me 8.
Why did you-
I've got some TV problems.
Okay,
in my house.
maybe you did. I think it wins an Academy Award. So
I-
maybe that's
it-
nothing
the-
else is
the-
on TV.
Is
But-
that the
The,
what's
buzz,
that?
the buzz is insane.
yeah
The
Jordan-
last
the
dance?
last dance? Yeah, the Chicago Bulls.
He and I are of an age like a lot of people that are really enjoying this documentary,
Yeah.
where we remember
Yeah.
Jordan just dominating. And I knew he was intensely competitive.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize he was always on
On.
and had to win and everything. And one of my favorite stories from the documentary, it was the first 3 championships they won, and they're flying. And there's a high dollar game in the back, and there's a low dollar game in the front. And Jordan finishes playing his high dollar game, and he wants to play in the low dollar game. Like, you just won $25,000. Why do you want? He goes, because I want your money in my pocket.
That's what he told the guy.
He didn't care if it was $2 or $20,000. He wanted somebody else's money in his pocket.
Yeah. That's a great. I mean, I'm telling you, man, those 10 episodes couldn't come at a better time. Obviously.
Oh
There's
my
nothing
gosh,
else.
there's genius timing.
Like right, and you know what? I don't know if you heard, like, because that was 22 years ago when they filmed it, so 98.
Yep.
Jordan did not give ESPN approval to show that until the day that LeBron James, Cleveland had just won the 2016 championship.
Okay.
LeBron James had an interview, and they interviewed him. He said, I think that championship now makes me the GOAT.
Oh,
He said that
he
in
said
an
that?
interview. So then Jordan that same day
Oh.
authorized ESPN to release it. And they took 2.
Let me help you understand what the GOAT really looks like. Because I don't think there's any real argument.
No, it's not.
I love Magic
Yeah,
Johnson.
yeah.
I love Larry Bird.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love Dr. J.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Dr. J
Yeah.
was amazing to watch.
Yeah.
But there's nobody like Jordan. He
Yeah.
could do everything.
Yeah.
Offensive, defensive. He could fly through the air. He was the most
he never-
coordinated person I'd ever seen.
He never got tired. I mean,
Yeah.
they was talking about like
He played all 82
right.
hard.
This is a guy that played 40 minutes every night, then would
And
stay up and play cards and drink and
100% on the court.
everything. I'm like, yeah.
It was none of this. Take it easy
Game
the first
load
3
management,
quarters
yeah,
and then explode in the fourth quarter. He was on all the time.
Totally different. Yeah.
Yeah, and oh man,
I wonder if he kind of held off, just because he wanted somebody to come out and claim it like LeBron did.
I think
so he could drop it.
I'm sure he did. And actually, it was supposed to be released during at the NBA Finals, but because all the world went to hell in a handbasket on March the 11th and stuff, they moved it up. But like once I heard that, Jordan gave permission to sort of produce it the same day LeBron said that, I was like, that's strategic.
that's not a coincidence.
That's not a coincidence, right? Not at all.
Were you a Bulls fan back in the day?
I was a huge Bulls fan. Yep, because I was a huge Michael Jordan fan from UNC, so I was a Tar Heel fan.
Yeah, he broke my heart all
UVA,
the time.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
He stole the ball from Jeff Jones in Chapel Hill. It was his last year, his junior year there.
Yeah.
And we should have won that game.
Yeah, UVA was number 1.
We should have won that game.
Yeah.
And Michael Jordan, the guy who hits the winning shot as a freshman against Georgetown national championship game, I'm like,
I remember.
he needs to go pro. Like,
I
stop
remember that
playing against UVA.
Yeah.
How close in age are y'all to Michael Jordan?
Well, Jordan would have graduated in '84 from college, and I graduated
so
in
I
'91.
I think Jordan just turned 54.
No, he's older than that.
No,
he's a lot older than that. He won the national championship, I thought, in '81 as a freshman, so it means he would have
He
graduated.
was 19.
Yeah.
And then he played 2 more years. So he got into the pros at 21.
Right.
Okay. And then,
Damn.
so that was in 85 or 84 when he joined the NBA.
Okay.
So that's 36. And so he's 57?
Yeah, that sounds right.
So
Okay,
you were a
57.
fan of him before even going to UVA. You were like a Virginia fan.
Yeah, he played for the wrong team. But I mean, you had to respect his game. His
What
game
year
was-
did you
was
graduate
amazing.
UVA?
91.
91. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
To be clear, I didn't play basketball at UVA. I was just a fan.
Are the Bulls like the Dallas Cowboys of basketball, or were they?
Oh, back in the
days.
I would call them the Steelers or the Niners or the Patriots kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, I'm out of my depth.
Yeah, we'll remind our audience that Daniel grew up overseas. Yeah, so Patriots is probably the way to think about the
Okay.
Bulls back then. They won 6 out of 8 years. They would have won 8 in a row if Jordan hadn't. He just got fed up with all the attention, a lot of negative attention, way too deep into his personal life. And he's like, I'm stepping away. And so he went to play baseball.
Yeah. Yep.
How do you do at the baseball?
He was okay.
Yeah.
He wasn't exceptional.
Yeah, he wasn't. I think they started him off in Double-A and stuff because they said that
Part of the White Sox. The
yeah,
Chicago-
part of the White Sox.
Yeah.
I mean, it was worth taking a flyer on, right?
Why wouldn't
But
you take the most famous basketball player who'd ever lived?
Yeah, you know.
Because by that point, he was as famous as Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem, and all those guys.
Oh yeah, I mean, but it would be interesting. I was telling my cousins the other day, like I don't know if he would have been able to be that way in today's social media. Like social media, I mean, now think about like
He would have walked away after the second championship.
Yeah, everything that you do is scrutinized.
And there's a lot of negativity.
Oh, everything
So
is.
much negativity.
Everything is like, oh my god.
This podcast is uplifting, though.
Yeah, well, that's actually one of my greatest fears and doubts about this podcast is that scrutiny.
People are going to turn on us.
And people putting it under a microscope and using it to assassinate our characers.
Yeah, which is silly because we're coming from good places.
Why would they do that?
I don't
They
know,
shouldn't.
man.
But we're like based off what? Like, what? I mean, I think what you
It's-
guys are doing and stuff, you're just doing this because you want to, like, you enjoy hearing people's stories.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It's exactly right.
It's an irrational fear, but like if you hang out on Twitter for like any amount of time, you see that these people like dig stuff up about each other, especially people with any kind of profile. So if this podcast gets like popular, then people might dig back and say,
So what he's saying is we don't have anything to worry about.
well, like they might be like, Paul was talking about PCP and like salt and pepper and
Right.
you know,
It's-
these guys are racist, you know.
Daniel, I decided a long time ago I could. I've had people like when I get on my little soapbox and stuff because I can go. I can talk big picture.
Yeah,
and
let's go.
Politics, and start. And I remember like a while back, one of my friends said, "Craig, you should have run for office." I said, "Listen, I got way too many damn skeletons in the
Right,
closet.
right.
Like the day that I'd announce, I'd have to like show everything that I've done to be like, listen, you're not good. There's no scoop here. It's already been uncovered.
Yeah.
This is what you see, what you get. So if you like me, vote for me. If you don't, you're an ass."
Do you want to
There you
run?
go.
Do you want to run
Just
for
like
office?
No. I don't have any.
I'd vote for you, Craig.
I would too.
Thank you.
You don't know nearly enough about Craig.
I don't
to
know
say that
I don't know
confidently.
about these skeletons. But
No killings. No nothing.
Yeah, I mean he
No,
hasn't
no,
committed
no,
any felonies. We don't
Right. No.
no, you just seem like a pretty well-adjusted dude.
Yeah, my name's not in any databases that I'm aware of and stuff.
That's good.
No one's looking for me. No, I just try to be the best version of myself, man.
That's awesome.
Like you go through life. Everybody, like I said, everybody has stuff, man. Everybody.
Yep.
It's like, okay, how do I navigate, what it is I'm trying to do and impact my family in a positive way and, be uplifting and encourage people.
Are your daughters going to listen to this, Craig?
They will listen to part of it. So, Paul, right there, I was actually getting ready to transition into Winnie the Pooh story.
All right, let's do it.
So the other day,
Who doesn't love a good Winnie the Pooh story / analogy?
So you talk about like, personality and how I am. I tell people all the time, listen, because I told you this before we got online. Like I've had 3 back surgeries in the last 10 years. So I had a discectomy in 2012, first back fusion 2015, and a second back fusion 2018. So
Genetic?
Yeah, they said degenerative disc. And, one of the first doctors I went to, you're tall. I was like, not that damn tall. That can't be your reason that you're going to try to give me that reason.
Height is my problem. I mean, come on.
Right. Like 6'1".
Your diagnosis is height?
That's what you went to medical school.
Right.
So if I got shorter, I wouldn't be in pain. So anyway, those back pains, man. I mean, chronic back pain, no joke. And never did I think, and I remember, like Paul said, in the 90s, you'd see people like, oh, they're playing tonight, back spasms. People like, back spasms? What the hell are you talking about? Like, suck it up. Can't be that bad. But having gone through what I've gone through, and I've had back spasms so bad that it would literally just lock you down. I had to have my girlfriend at the time put a muscle relaxer. I was laying on the floor, couldn't move. Put a muscle relaxer in my mouth. Waited for it to dissolve like 45 minutes before I could even move. That's how bad your back locks up. So I say all that to say, like, my personality from Winnie the Pooh to the characters, Tigger and Eeyore. And I always tell people, I'm like, you've got a choice. I prefer to be Tigger because if I was Eeyore with the amount of pain that I'm in, then it's easy to simply just tap out.
Yeah, you're done.
Like you just,
yeah.
like you get a real good understanding of people's mental health. And, and you can sort of equate it to some of what we're going through right now, right? This has been like 7 weeks of what we're dealing with. And if someone would have told you 7 weeks ago or 9 weeks ago, okay, that we would be at this point, people would be outraged. You would have been like, oh my God, you gotta be kidding me. There's no way in hell from March 16th to May 18th, 90,000 people would have died. But now that we're at this point, most people be like, that's about all I can do. Can't sacrifice anymore. Now it's time for me to, emotionally, I don't think we've been able to even process what we've gone through the last 2-3 months. I don't really think emotionally people are even at that space. That's just my opinion and stuff. But yeah, I was telling Paul, like, I just prefer to be Tigger, man. Because if I wasn't, I couldn't function. It wouldn't be the way that I would choose to live the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So, and you can choose your attitude.
Yeah. So I tell people all the time, like, hey, I'm Tigger, not Eeyore. Eeyore's woe is me, I'm
and
okay.
there's like there's a comfort, it's comfortable to like just sit around and feel sorry for yourself.
Sure.
It actually feels kind of good. But except for the fact that you're depressed.
It's not it's not getting anywhere.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, you just sit there.
I bet you there are a lot of Eeyores out there right now.
Oh God, yeah.
So, and I guess I should say, like, no fault to, I don't know. I think some people are like, I think depression has an element of being, a choice and an element of being like a predisposed like condition that people have.
Yeah, there's some genetics and stuff.
There's clearly.
Yeah, passed down through that.
But never underestimate the attitude.
Yeah.
No question. Yeah. We're not victims, right? We have control of a lot more than we think we have control of.
Yeah, you do.
And one of them's attitude.
Yep.
For sure.
So why you pick Winnie the Pooh as your allegory?
Just because and not that I watched a lot of Winnie the Pooh, but I just saw the different sort of version of those two characters. And I remember Tigger always jumping around being, oh, Christopher Robin and stuff. And Eeyore being, whoa, and I was like, nah, that's one of the first things that came to mind. And that's just sort of like the way that I've always tried to be.
Yeah.
I can't deal with the negative parts of everything all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love the way that they make like such caricatures of different types of people like that. I think the one that I always resonated with the most was Piglet, actually.
Yeah.
And Piglet was just always anxious, like, oh no, is everything okay? Oh no, is this or that? And like Eeyore had this like strangely just calming effect on Piglet. He's like, it's fine, dude. Everything sucks. So he would just calm him down. Or maybe Pooh. I think they both had that. Winnie the Pooh and Eeyore had this sense.
I don't think Winnie the Pooh goes by just Pooh.
He doesn't?
I don't think so. I think he's always Winnie the Pooh.
Craig,
Winnie
you're our
the Pooh.
resident expert.
I don't know, Daniel, if I've ever seen him just been called Pooh.
Pooh Bear.
Pooh
No?
Bear, yes.
Pooh Bear?
Pooh Bear, I'll give you Pooh Bear.
Pooh Bear.
But
Not
not
just
just
Pooh?
Pooh.
I was just trying to be cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's not shorten Winnie the Pooh to just Pooh. I mean, I think he's too important to a lot of people's childhoods.
You guys are funny.
All right, so two things real quickly. Are you still a Bulls fan? There's no way you are. They're all
Not nowhere near.
because you were more of a Jordan fan.
Yeah, I was. But I stayed with him even when Jordan retired. Once they got rid of Pippen too, and all of that coincided. Because I think Scottie Pippen is the second, the best number 2 player in the history of basketball.
There's no question.
I mean, if you just sit there and say like, okay, here's a pair, who's better than him?
There's nobody even close.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I agree. Here's the other thing. You and I grew up with JC.
Yeah.
JC was pretty anxious that we were going to tell crazy stories about him. I don't want you to tell a crazy story, but I do want you to tell us a fun JC story that he might be like, that's okay.
One that stands out, and I can't believe I don't know.
And we won't say JC's last name because
Yeah,
I have no idea what Craig's going to say.
We was over his house, and it must have been after school, and Scooter and
So
Coco.
y'all
was
are in high
there.
school.
Yeah, I think we were a little bit. I think we were all in college or something. I think we were older. I don't think I was married yet, and I got married in '91. So I think it was any time between. I think I was in college, and something came up, and I think Scooter had just said something to JC like, "Hey, JC, your mom's gonna know that or find out and stuff." And JC looks calmly at us, stuff like, "Edie doesn't know a damn thing." And I was like. What are you gonna, I was like, why are you saying that? Why are you saying about your mother? But it was just funny the way that he said it. And his mom, man, she's great. You know what, man? When you grow up with people and stuff, and they always say, Booney, come in and sit down. You want something to eat? You want something to drink? And people just treated you so kindly.
A lot of good people we grew up with.
Yeah. I mean, his mom and dad, man, and Co's mom and dad, and it was just, yeah. But JC was always like you always wanted to be with him if I was out acting crazy because he was the voice of reason. Like he rarely, got off the rails.
Yeah, he's pretty straight.
Like you need those people,
right?
Because you'd be like, okay, we can't just have a whole bunch of crazy people.
Yeah,
Like,
if you had 4 Craigs in close proximity.
Right, then I would have a file and shit.
Yeah, JC's that's probably the story. He's kept you out of trouble.
Yeah, he has. I mean, and Scooter was that way. Scooter was the more of us too. He was more reserved. He was the voice of reason. As long as you kept him like too much exposure and stuff, and he could lose it. But I'm like, okay, as long as it was okay, you'd be like, okay, all right, I'll make sure you get home and protect you. I mean, there's been many a nights that they've gotten me home.
Scooter and JC in particular.
Yeah. I mean, and Coco didn't have a damn thing to worry about because shit, he wasn't driving and stuff, and, So yeah. But no, JC was he was calm.
I hope they listen to this and then realize there's nothing to worry about. I think it'd be fun to have him on.
JC's listening. He's going to listen to this. There's no question. I think he's excited to listen to it.
There's no chance in hell Cole listens to it.
I don't know.
You think so?
He might.
I'd be surprised.
Scooter's going to listen to it. He's one of the 2 or 3 cousins you said would listen to it.
Well, once it's all sliced and diced, how long is it? I mean,
I don't know how long we've been going. We're at an hour.
What time?
Hour 20.
Hour 20 right now.
Okay.
All right, so it honestly depends on like how much I cut out.
Okay.
If it's all good, I just leave it all in.
Oh, well,
But-
okay. Well,
So he's going to cut about half of what we said so far.
So yeah, we got about 10 minutes of workable material right now.
right. We've been talking an hour and a half. You've been like, other than your name, is there anything else, Max?
we got maybe 15 minutes. All right, so go ahead and ask our standard question.
What's your standard
Oh
question?
yeah, you haven't listened to any episodes yet.
I did. I listened to the first one with your
With Mike.
Army guy.
With Mike,
but
yeah.
I think
With
I
Mike.
listened to like 40 minutes of it.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't listen to the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I haven't listened,
So you may have heard this or not, but
He may not have.
the basic question is, would you rather try to be a stand-up comedian or go into the military?
When you were 25 and you're not married, no kids, no responsibilities other than yourself.
Oh, I'd rather be a stand-up comedian.
I can see that.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I'm not a military guy. Like I have great respect, for the guys, but I do think, you know what, so much, just knowing some of the history of this country, it seems like, we're a little bit, hypocrisy comes into play because it wasn't always like salute first responders. And, I don't think we prioritize like what's important. Like, I think like our value system, just my opinion, take it for what it's worth. What we value as a country or whatever, or sometimes as a world, isn't the most important thing, and you have people that sacrifice their lives long before the first Afghan war, because that's when I really feel like 1990, that was when the first time that the military aspect of anything, from my perspective, and there wasn't anything happening in the 70s or in the 80s.
Not that we remember, right?
Right.
Vietnam technically ended in 75.
And you had Falkland Islands or something, and British, and
we jumped into Panama in 89.
Yeah. But I just remember, just hearing bad stories about, the way certain people were treated in the military because of race or rank or whatever and stuff. And I'd be like, why are you being treated like that? They're fighting for the country. But, but now we've, done a complete 180 and stuff. And, the military is the greatest thing in the world.
And the answer's somewhere in between.
I'm like, yeah, exactly. Right. I think like we're not able to be, if you're critical of any component of the military or the government in general, you're sometimes perceived as anti-American. You'd be like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, how am I anti-American? Like, there is no absolute. I mean, just because you start talking about something, like, there are opportunities in everything.
Of course.
But
and you're not being honest.
No, but I think we have such a large segment of society. The moment that you start criticizing, you're ungrateful. And if you're ungrateful, then you shouldn't be here. Like that's
and that's a really bad turn for our society.
Sure it is, but that's the spin. It like you have literally created, sort of the haves and the have-nots. I mean, you've that's basically like, hey, either you're with us or against us. And
if you don't like it, leave, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Like,
or if you don't like it, we're going to force you to leave.
Yeah. I mean, and that's just crazy. I mean, that's just crazy.
So let's talk about why you take the comedic route.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean, one, I'm not physically. I couldn't do anything military that you guys did. I've never shot a gun. I've held a gun.
I've shot all of them.
I know you have. I haven't. So I've never done that, and that would be, not that there's more to military, but physically, I don't think I could ever, hold up through basic training and all of that.
Would you like people telling you what to do all the time?
I don't think I would have a problem with that. It's not a cult. I mean, it wouldn't. I don't think. I mean, one of the good gracious, Full Metal Jacket. The first 45 minutes of that movie. Oh my God. Why, Private Powell? Why aren't you beating the hell out of Private Powell? Why is Powell in my head? What's the matter, numbnuts?
It's the best 45 minutes of any movie.
It is
ever.
The first 45 minutes of Full Metal Jacket. Oh my God.
And the drill instructor was meant to be like the technical advisor.
Yeah.
R. Lee Ermey, no longer.
Really?
Yeah, he just recently passed away.
Yeah.
I think like a year ago. Yeah.
All right, how old are your daughters now?
28 and 23.
All right, but no grandbabies.
Yes, I have a grandbaby.
You're a grandfather?
Yeah.
I would have been giving you grief about that a long time ago.
Ava Sky Holiday. She will be 1 year old next Tuesday.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Congrats, Grandpa.
Yeah. Man, beautiful. Beautiful. Yeah. Love her to death.
So you have 2 daughters and 1 granddaughter.
2 daughters, 1 granddaughter.
Are there any boys in your future?
No, Shalana might have another child and stuff, but I don't think she's, rushing to get it. Aaliyah, she's like, Dad, you might not have any other grandkids if Shalana didn't have another one. I mean, that's fine. I don't, I'm not one of these people that, go out and multiply. Just have a whole bunch of kids and
Right.
stuff. Like, I mean, because that's tough. Because when you think about, like, like now, like, dude, kids are expensive as hell.
They are. There's no
I
doubt.
mean, and even if you try to, you can sit there and be like, oh, well, I'll start a 529 for them or whatever, and daycare. And I mean, it's just a lot.
You got to feed them. You got to clothe
Right.
them.
I mean, I feel like, some adults should be like Barb Barker, get your pets spayed or neutered. He said that at the end of all the Price is Right.
Oh.
Yeah. Because Daniel's like, Barb Barker. Remember? That's old school right there.
You ever see Happy Gilmore?
I've seen The Price is Right.
Okay.
You remember the old school one?
You remember the old announcer?
I don't remember. I watched a documentary about this guy that actually.
Yeah, Bob Barker.
No. It was the guy that actually like knew the prices for everything.
He'd memorized everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was.
God.
It was unbelievable.
Okay.
But maybe I did see Bob Barker.
Okay. Yeah. At the end,
Bob, he was in that documentary. He
He was
definitely
like the guy, the white guy that was like giving
the MC.
the
Yeah,
announcer. Yeah.
At the end of every show, after the showcase was over, he said, like, to control the pet population, get your pet spayed or neutered.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So you're thinking that for, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people on the planet.
Yeah, there's just some people like, listen, not every, dude, I mean, how some people raise 5, 6, 7 kids. I don't know how you do it. I mean, that's tough. Tough
Yeah,
deal.
super hard.
But yeah.
All right, so if your granddaughter was going to listen to this 18 years from now,
Okay.
what advice are you giving her? What's the best pearl of wisdom you got?
The best pearl of wisdom that I would give my granddaughter is stay positive, be a leader, not a follower. I always tell my girls even about peer pressure. I mean, I'm 53 years old and I still suffer from peer pressure.
Sure.
When
Yeah.
I'm around my family and stuff and be like having a good time. I drink, on to the next one and stuff. And I was like, oh my God. So I always try to tell them, like, say, do as I say, not as I do. But I would tell her, like, be a good person, do your best, and enjoy your life. I mean, this is the only one you get. No one have you guys met anyone that said, "Hey, this is my second life"?
Not knowingly.
I know some people that believe that, but they don't remember the other one.
Right. They have a strong
Right.
belief in something they don't recall.
So
Yeah.
I mean, just sit there and say, like, hey, nothing's guaranteed. Nothing's guaranteed. Just
Yeah.
just be a good person. Love yourself. Love your family.
Work on those percentages.
Yeah, there
That's
it
it.
is. That's the title.
There you go. Work
the
on those percentages.
Man, there's
That
another
is good.
one. Oh, I was gonna do the Winnie the Pooh thing, but I feel like that's
You just want to name his episode Pooh?
no. No, I never mind. Like, I don't even want to go there.
Daniel, come on, man. We can go anywhere. dude.
We got a couple here. All right, so
We're wide open.
Greg, we're gonna bring this to a close. We try to do about an hour and a half, and it gets cut down to about an hour ish.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
Plus or minus whatever.
Absolutely.
But this is the most Daniel has laughed in an episode.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's the hardest he's laughed in an episode.
Okay.
When he laughs a lot and like with, you can just tell there's pure joy there.
Okay.
It makes me extremely happy, and so you've made both of us very happy with the fun episode here. So we really appreciate you coming on, man.
No,
Yeah,
this,
man.
This has been great. I didn't know what to expect and stuff, but and I could talk to you guys all night, whether it's on radio or not and stuff like that.
No, I love it. I love that you just, even like the first exchange we had, you came out with like, I got laid off, I got back surgeries. You're like, it's all on the table.
I'm an open book, man. I mean, seriously, I don't. There's no hidden agenda here. I'll be like, I'm sorry, Daniel, that hadn't been cleared by my attorney,
My agent, yeah.
That shit's off limits. We're not talking about that. Like, shit, I can tell you. Like,
Okay.
I'm an open book, man.
Cool,
You
yeah.
ask me a question, I'll give you
Yeah,
my
here's
answer.
the answer. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do the best
That was
I can.
awesome.
cool. All right, you're gonna stop recording.
Yeah, I'll shut her off.
After the death of George Floyd and the American people's unprecedented response, we asked Craig to come back on for a follow-up. He showed up with a bullet-pointed list of experiences and thoughts relating to race in America. And here's the conversation that followed.
Listen, I'm not here. This is just Craig's opinion as a black person with all of this that's going on. I'm not the sole.
That's exactly what we want.
Yeah. Are you recording already?
You're not speaking for all.
Are you recording?
No.
He's been recording. Just
okay. No, I hope
you care.
I hope no one ever says like, "Oh yeah, Craig." I'm not representing anybody. I'm representing my views may be totally different than someone else that you asked down here. But as I told Paul, like your conversation with Chris, that I listened to, devoting an hour and 45 minutes this past week. I was just like, wow, this is 100% spot on.
Yeah. And I think that we focus on the individual more than anything with this podcast.
Yeah, this is about you, Craig.
Yeah.
And JC thinks that's crazy, but it's about you.
So let's just start with 1968 versus 2020. What did you mean by that?
Okay, so probably even before the new year. So just as part of my DNA, I'm graduate with a degree in political science and wanted to be a lawyer and all of that. But I just thought about like, wow, where we were as a country before the ball dropped. I was like, wow, this has the potential of being such a polarizing and just unbelievable year from a political perspective and societal issues. And everybody talked about where 1968 was really the Mount Olympus of society, of America's issues from a racial perspective, from an equality perspective. And I felt like 2020 had all of the right ingredients to sort of cause that same type of issues
before 2020 started.
Before 2020 even started, and not that I'm no predictor and be like, oh my God, Craig forecasted. The only thing that I thought was different, I was like, well, I hope and pray that there's no assassination, because 1968 was synonymous with assassination of King and Kennedy and all of the other political unrest. But I thought all of the other ingredients were there. And then the pandemic hit. And then when you sort of just take all of it and how it disproportionately affects the black community, and blacks are 3 times higher to pass away from the virus than whites, and it shows a lot of the inequalities in the health system. And there's so many things that contribute to that. There's so many variables, that go into like, well, why is that? Because you have a system that is not set up from an equality standpoint. And one of the things that I tell my kids and anybody that listens to me, and sometimes my kids are forced to listen to me because I just go off on tangents. I said, if you took birth as the beginning of a race, and you had a black kid born here and you had a white kid born there, and you said, okay, we're going to give you the same access to everything. You're going to have the same access to education, to health, to all of the resources necessary to provide you to be successful in life. Then I think you would probably get a very high portion of black people be like, I'd sign up for that from day one. Then you know what? Maybe we don't need all of these programs in place to sort of like right the playing field. But that's not the way it is. Unfortunately, we have an educational system that's based on property tax and where you live as a community. So when you talk about historical, if you come from a family that's well-to-do and you live in a well-to-do area, you're going to go to a school that's well-to-do. One of the things that stands out for me, I think it was 2013, and my daughter was a junior in the new Cosby High School. Clover Hill High School. And I went to her high school one night, and I said, Aaliyah, do you know what this school costs? She said $66 million. And I remember a couple of years earlier when I was at the big bank in Richmond, Paul,
Right.
that we don't talk about.
Right.
We went down and did community help in the school, and we were taking damn near asbestos out of the roof so that kids could simply just go to that school. And right there, you start seeing the foundational differences and the legwork in terms of like, wow, think about how this kid that goes to that $66 million school has a tremendous head start over the kid that has to fight off asbestos to simply try to get a quality education. So when you see it from that perspective, and you have to realize that that's generations. That's not just, you can't just, you just don't get one black family to just move out of a poor neighborhood into a okay neighborhood, and all of a sudden they've made it, because they realize that, guess what? There's 20 other families that they know that don't have those same opportunities. So that's one of the things that I think about when I look at like how is all of this playing together. So when you see 1968, to sort of bring it back to perspective, you talk about all of those differences and all of the racial tension and frustration and all of this that's happening. This isn't new to black people. Like I think what happened with George Floyd was an eye-opener for white people to see that, because I will tell you, I saw the exact same thing, other than the final breaths of Freddie Gray in Baltimore. I was in Baltimore doing the riots there in 2015. I just started with PayPal, and Baltimore was burning down because the police had actually almost killed the man and then threw him into the van unshackled, and then they said they took him on a rough ride. Well, that rough ride subsequently gave him a broken neck, and he died. And that's why people just, the frustration of just like not treating people with dignity. And listen, we all fall short. We all have made mistakes, and different things have happened in our life. But at the end of the day, like, where's the human dignity in just treating someone, whether they've committed a crime or not? But once you have that person in custody, there's no reason for police to just casually have your knee on somebody's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Unbelievable. So when you see all of those things, you think about 68 and 2020, and I didn't even talk about bringing Trump into the equation and stuff, and what that means, because people think like, oh, the last 3.5 years have been sort of like off the chain. Well, guess what? If he gets reelected, then it's no holds barred. Like you can say all you want about like, well, he'll be much more constrained. Like, for what? At that point, he's a lame duck president. Although he thinks he's an emperor, and he'll just get reelected another 4 years after that.
What happened after 1968?
Well, Craig was 2.
I was 2.
68. I was 11 days old at the end of 68. So.
I mean, from my perspective, I was just asking my mother the other day. I was like, because and that's the thing that hits me, Daniel, is the fact that, when you talk about 68, that was 52 years ago. So we're not talking about like 150 years ago, and you can't go and talk to
It's our
people.
lifetime.
It's very relevant.
Yeah.
It's the fact that your parents and grandparents, if they're still around, remember, how people were treated and all of that. Yeah, and things have improved. I think most people will say that they've improved, but only, I wouldn't say only because, but I mean, as a society, you have to evolve and get better. But how far have we really come since 68? You can. It depends on how you're looking at it. I mean, because I think some people look like 60. Oh, we have none of that now. there's no segregation. You know, blacks and whites can go to school together and do all of these different things, and there's no signs to say colored or whites here. But, you know, behind the closed doors, there's still conversations, observations, different things. And like I said, a lot of it is systematic. There's just things in place that, you know, life's not fair. It's not.
So what's the end? I mean, it's kind of a depressing outlook that, you know, 52 years, that there's like really strong echoes to today from 52 years ago. What's your...
Well, I think one of the things Craig is saying here, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, Craig,
go ahead.
is we have to admit there's a problem.
Yeah.
Right. That's step one in getting to a better place. You have to admit there's a problem.
Yep.
And if we can't come to grips and freely admit what the issues are, then we're not going to get to a better place.
Exactly. Yeah. I think there's a lot of denial. I mean, in one of the topics I listed, and I'll just jump to it. Like I've got down there, Obama solved racism. I think there's a concept or thought that amongst white people, like, hey, there can't be systematic racism or whatever because we've elected a black president.
Yep, it's all done, guys.
Yeah, that's
all done.
That's it. Like, yeah.
Hey, I will tell you, there are more than a couple of white people that believe it.
That believe it. And so therefore, when you talk about, you know, you hear black people talk about there's 400 years plus of oppression. White people will immediately go to, yeah, but we've had a black president. So those two things.
So everything's good.
Yeah, right.
Everything's fine.
And that's simply not the case. It's simply not the case.
Well, and to the notion of systemic problems in this country, just because you elect a president who, by the way, we have to remind everybody, does not have that much power.
Right.
It is, I won't say mostly a symbolic role, but it is partially a symbolic role.
Yeah.
And that's symbolism can be powerful.
Yeah.
But yeah, just because he happens to be a black guy
No.
doesn't solve lots of ingrained practices within the system.
And especially when you have a leader like Mitch McConnell that said his number one objective, Obama, I think, was in the role for like maybe a year. His number one objective was to make Obama a one-term president. And let's remember,
which is not productive. Like you're not making the country
you're
better.
already stonewalling so much. I mean, and you think about like everything that Obama accomplished pretty much from a legislative standpoint was the first 2 years. That's the reason that he pushed so hard for Obamacare.
Right.
Because he saw the political tea leaves. Because think about it. In 2010, the Tea Party came in and stuff was like, no, you know, like, no, that's not how we're going to do things. So, I mean, from that standpoint, God bless that he was that aggressive in enforcing, because they had control of Congress. Had they not had control of Congress, he may have very well been a one-term president, simply because nothing would have gotten done. And then I could absolutely see a large portion of white people just saying, well, we elected a black president and he didn't get anything done. They didn't care about the reason he didn't get anything done.
Yeah.
But it was simply because, you know, he didn't get anything done.
Interesting.
68.
Yeah.
You were 2. You don't remember.
I was 2. I don't remember.
You don't remember, but
No.
your mom certainly does,
Yeah.
and your
Yeah.
aunt.
Yeah.
When was like Nixon and Reagan and all that stuff?
Nixon was 70. Nixon was elected president in 68. Because Lyndon B. Johnson decided not to run after he had been elected in 64, because Kennedy got shot in 63, so he finished Kennedy term, and then he did 64 to 68.
He did about 5, and he
did 5.
He technically could have done
a
total of 9 if he
he could
won the election.
because he could have done 2 terms.
Yeah,
but so Nixon came in 68 and stuff, and
a Southern Democrat, Johnson turning over to a Californian Republican.
Yeah.
In 68.
Okay.
yeah.
I'm wondering if, like, since we're drawing this parallel, like, I mean, if we play it forward, what do you see? Not only like in terms of, you know, what's going to happen in November, but what's the end state like in terms of, so, you know, Obama being president, people are using that to say that racism is over, but what is going to be the criteria to meet to say, like, we've done it, or is that just not really?
It's an impossible question.
It is an impossible question. I mean, and one of the things that I've always said, like, all of this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. And one of my concerns is that right now there is so much energy and passion, and I've done a couple of protests and stuff in small little Ashland, which was great, and probably 75% of the people out there were white people. That's awesome, but here's the thing: white people need to understand, like, listen, this is a marathon. It's not a sprint. So you know what? The same passion and energy you have on May 26th, when you saw the video of Floyd, have that same passion on this election day. Have that same passion on next year's election day. Like, it's going to take, because you're talking about, I don't think there can be legislative things done, because when you think about 68, you were in a civil rights area. There won't be any legislation, federal legislation coming from Congress that will all of a sudden say, hey, we've rectified racism. Like, racism's a mindset. It's something that's taught. Like, you know, as children, man, no one's taught to hate.
Yeah, you're not born hating.
You're not born up. But you know what? But if you're not exposed to other groups, and you're isolated, and you're basically in your parents or your surroundings, you know, people just talk about race or talk about things in a negative way. We're all products of our environments. So if that's what you're exposed to, then all you're doing is just seeding future generations to act and believe that way. So I mean, I'm hopeful, but I'm not one of these people to sit there and be like, oh, that's the day that, you know what, there was no longer any racism in America. That's not going to happen. And I really don't think that logical white people think that way.
That there will be a point at which, I agree. I think it's sort of part of the human condition.
Right.
Were we looking for a prediction? Like December 15th?
No, it's just
2000 something.
I think like in 2007, I heard that a lot of like black people were just saying, like, there's no way that we're gonna elect a black president. And then a black president got elected. But you know, it doesn't solve, like we've said, it doesn't solve ingrained issues. And I think we have to admit there's a problem and define the problem. But like, my next question is always like, how do we solve the problem? Like, is it solvable, or is it part of humanity that we will always have to live with?
I think it's part of humanity we'll always have to live with. But I think it's a situation where, you know what, when you see it, you've got to call it out. And here's the thing, one of the other topics, like, I truly do believe, and I heard somebody say this, this is a white people problem. Like, it's like, black people always knew that racism existed, and police and different things looked at blacks or minorities a different way. So I think the curtain has been pulled back, and all of a sudden white people's like, oh my God, I can't believe that this is happening. But we already knew it. Yeah. And so my hope is that all of a sudden, like, white people be like, hey, what you said and what you did, that's not right. And you know what? They're talking to another white person when they say that. Like, it's not on me to go out and educate or talk to white people. I'm open. If anybody,
you'll absolutely do it. Yeah.
Right. I've known Paul for 40 years. Gilman can ask me any question. I will always give my opinion, and I will always give my experience and stuff. But I think that it's like, it's going to be on white people to sit there and be like, you know what you're doing right now isn't right. And certainly when you think about the cops, like, one of the arguments, well, it's just a few bad apples. Well, my response to that, well, why is it the bad apples are always together? If you just look at percentages, like,
those 4 bad apples happen to be there in Minneapolis that day,
right? Like, how how unusual is that to happen? Like, you would think like one of them would be like, hey, I may be your junior, you may be my superior, but I'm not going to let you sit here on somebody's neck for 8 minutes.
Well, one of the systemic issues is they protect each other.
Sure.
Regardless of what's going on. He was clearly,
Right.
I mean, with more than 2 minutes to go, they knew he didn't have a pulse.
Right. Yeah.
That means death or damn near it.
Yep.
And they, at least 3 of them knew that.
Yep.
And they did nothing.
Yep.
That's a systemic problem.
Yeah.
That's not a bad apple thing.
That's not
systemic
it
problem.
is.
Questioning the officer in charge. I mean, there was that one guy there, Lane, it was his 4th day on the job or something.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear about that?
Yeah.
And he questioned the officer twice, and Derek Chauvin just shot him down both times. And the next step there would be like force,
Right.
basically knocking Derek off
Right.
of
Yeah.
George Floyd, and
Which you never see.
No.
you don't see
you never
police
see it.
officers doing that to their own.
No.
And I think that much like, have you guys heard the pilot analogy? I think Boeing or some airline started after a lot of planes crashed because of ice buildup on the wings, because of subordinates refusing to go against whoever was in charge. Airlines built into their training, like, you need both people to have consent, and they encouraged dissent, and they encouraged the assistant in many cases to veto the pilot that was in charge. And so, like, having a culture like that baked into the police, I think, yeah, it's one of the systemic issues that needs to get fixed.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the points Lauren Young was making in our last podcast was, look, it's a lot, right? When you try to wrap your head around the entire problem set, it's overwhelming. So pick something.
Yeah.
Pick something and make a difference as best you can. And so I personally have interest in policing and making policing better, because they're clearly not trained
Yeah.
as well as they could be. There are exceptions to that comment. I think, generally speaking, police officers want to do a great job. I think when you took a picture with your great nephew.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of good people in the police force.
Yeah.
And so when we say systemic, it's not necessarily about the people, it's about the system.
Yeah.
And the system's got to be changed and be better.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I absolutely agree.
Yeah. Alrighty. Can I pick another topic? From
Yeah.
Your ledger.
For our listeners, we have a tiny whiteboard where Craig has written some topics down that basically have popped in your brain the last 30 days.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Things that I didn't want to forget, suffering from the early stages of dementia.
Yeah, I would say early dimension, but when you're in your 50s, you do forget stuff.
Oh man! All right, let's go with American flag. Why'd you write that down?
So one of the things, and I think I mentioned this, Paul, the last time I was over here. You know, when you talk about the American flag, it's almost as if the flag should mean the same things to every person, no matter what. And listen, I'm not military, but I've had my father fought in the Korean War and stuff, and my uncle did and stuff. So, and my brother was in military service. So I understand and respect their service and their duty. But it's almost as if, like, if you question anything that you don't like about America, then the first thing is, it's like, you need to leave. And it's
crazy. That's not how this country was
the other
formed.
day, and Daniel, you probably don't know this guy, Herschel Walker. Okay. One of the greatest college running backs, and probably the
top five athlete to ever put on a sports uniform, not just football.
Just a man child. I mean,
wow.
great college, great. The Dallas Cowboys of the 90s achieved greatness because of Herschel Walker. So the other day I was looking at Twitter or whatever, and Herschel Walker said that he would buy airline tickets for people that didn't want to live here and respect the flag. And that's what he tweeted. And I'm like, I be John Brown. I said, damn. So because someone has basically said, like, hey, I don't have any desire to live anywhere else. This is the greatest country in the world. But just because it's the best doesn't mean that we don't have issues. And somehow, because if you question those issues and you dare mention that, hey, the flag doesn't have the same, you know, everybody waves the flag like, hey, everything, America is so pure and we're above. all the petty shit that exists in the world. And I'm like, no, it's not. And one of the other topics I've got there is the 1960s police. Listen, there's a movie called Mississippi Burning, and it's based on a true story.
It's a really good movie.
It's a killing of 3 civil rights workers that were killed in Mississippi. And one of the scenes, there's a whole bunch of young black kids. They're waving flags and stuff as civil rights marchers were protesting, marching down the streets in Mississippi. The police came and snatched the damn flags out from the kids.
American flags?
American flags. And these I mean, obviously this is a movie, but it's based on a true story. And I'm like, okay, so the police, you had young black kids that wanted to participate and show their allegiance to the flag. And right there in that movie, I was like, that's ridiculous. Like that's ridiculous.
It's like saying you can't be part of this. You don't count. But then when they turn around and kneel to the pledge or to the national anthem, then they say,
right,
how
you're
dare
disrespecting the flag. But it's not about the flag. And I think because people were tone deaf and they never wanted to hear exactly what Kaepernick was talking about. And now
he looks like he was right.
Like everything in America, we do a complete 180. Hell, now you've got everybody saying they want to kneel. So now you're like, well, okay, why now play the national anthem then if everybody's just going to be kneeling the whole time and stuff? So but that's what we do in this country. It's like it's like, oh, that's wrong. And like, oh, we need to change that immediately and change that immediately. And you've got Trump saying like, oh, now maybe, Kaepernick, I may be open to if he can prove that he can play again in the NFL, I may be on board to support that.
He was a starting quarterback in the Super Bowl.
Right, he was one play away from winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I mean, you have these. It's so much BS. Oh my God.
So patriotism, in terms of thinking of America as a blameless, most perfect country that doesn't deserve to be criticized, that's a little bit unrealistic, or really unrealistic. What is the place of patriotism in our society, given everything?
That is a very deep question.
Like, where? I guess let's just ask you directly. Like, what does patriotism mean to you? Pride in your country. Obviously, it's a conflicted thing.
I mean, I see. I mean, this probably isn't going to answer your question, Daniel. I just think, like, listen, once you know right from wrong, do the right thing. Like, treat everything with respect and don't, like, I used to tell people all the time when I would talk to new hires and stuff, and I was like, listen, don't be an asshole. And we know what being an asshole looks like, right? People that you work with, people that may be part of your group or extended group. People, you're like, that person's a good person. Mm-hmm. Or that person's an asshole. And we all know it. And sometimes I just think, like, for whatever reason, we don't call it out. And maybe that doesn't answer your question, but I mean, patriotism, I don't know. I mean, I'm not sitting there and think like, hey, everything's going to be perfect in this world. But I think, like, the people that are bad people, like, we need to just grab them by the shirt and stuff like that.
And it sounds like
get your act together.
It's got to be an initiative taken by everybody.
Everybody owns it, right? I mean, it's not, seriously, when people talk about everything that's going on right now, if everybody isn't part of this equation, then it doesn't get solved. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can sort of like use the analogy of wearing masks in businesses, right? I mean, I've gone to the store almost every day to just pick up something. You know how frustrating it is to see people in there not wearing masks? And I can't imagine Virginia's dropping with cases. But in Arizona, where I just moved from 2 months ago, there's like 22,000 plus cases a day. Like people are just like, oh, it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, it's just a total lack of disrespect.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, I'm very curious what you meant by your note over here, Rachel text.
So the other day, I was just sitting at my kitchen. I think I was finishing up breakfast. I got a random text message from back in 99, 2000. When were we?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
99,
Yeah.
2000. So
Just a couple years ago.
Rachel Elliott. She was Rachel Elliott then. She was a college intern, new hire and
Right.
stuff.
Yeah,
and what we worked together, I guess 3-4 years or however long. She sent me a text completely out the blue, just talking about like how she didn't realize potentially how difficult it was being a black man, and she wanted to do a better job at understanding, and she was saddened and disappointed by what was happening in society, and and that she wanted to be part of the solution. Like I said, it was completely, you
probably hadn't talked to her in a while, right?
No, right. I mean, I'd shoot her a birthday text or whatever, but to have that just land on me right then and there, I was like, that's exactly, it's small steps, man.
Yeah.
It's not like I said, none of this is going to like magically disappear, in a couple of weeks. It just isn't. So, I mean, getting that text from Rachel, it was like right on time. It gave me some real hope.
It had to make you optimistic.
It
right?
did,
Yeah.
right? It absolutely makes you optimistic. Yeah. So that was the Rachel text.
Yeah, and I think she's not alone, right?
Right.
You're hearing from a lot of folks that look like me.
Yeah.
That are expressing the desire to learn, expressing the desire to listen, to act, to get us to a better place. I think the challenge now is, to Chris Young's point in the last podcast, fast food culture. There's going to be something else that grabs our attention.
Yep.
And so the notion of continuous pushing forward
Yep.
has got to be top of mind for a lot of people. As you said, it's going to take everybody doing their part. I think there's, let's call it 95% doing their part, because there's always going to be a 5% that just wants to push against whatever the majority is trying to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, I've heard it described as moral manias.
How do you mean?
Like the fast food culture, the flavor,
yeah, yeah.
flavor
Flavor
of
of
the
the
day.
day, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what is the next thing to get outraged about?
Yeah.
And things get old fast. Especially if you're talking like Twitter. So, it's the time to not let it get old. All right. Man, we are crushing this list.
Okay. All right.
Here, let me check this.
All right.
So, tell us a little bit about.
Well, hold on. Which one should we end with? Out of the woman at Chili's or the food
The
line purchase?
woman at Chili's.
Well, we should end with that one.
Yeah, the woman at Chili's was real powerful.
Well, we'll
right.
end the list. We're not going to end the conversation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Let's end the list with the woman at Chili's.
So that leaves Food Line Purchase.
Food line purchase.
Give us the rundown.
Yeah. So last week I was one of the many purchases that I now make at Food Line and stuff. Just getting some stuff. I think getting some ice, because I was going to do some drinking later on and need some ice. And I'm standing behind a guy that he had purchased, several items, and he was looking for his looking for his debit card to give to the teller or the little person at the counter, and he couldn't find it. And then he got on his phone and stuff, and he called somebody and stuff. It's like, hey, is my card there? Blah blah blah. And and I hear the person saying no, and he's still looking and stuff. I said, sir, if you don't mind, I said, I'll pay for your groceries. Just let me just add all this into it and stuff. And he looked at me.
Couldn't believe it.
Couldn't
believe it.
So this was a describing a scruffy looking white guy and stuff. I thought he had on like a deer hat. I thought it was the Milwaukee Bucks emblem, but evidently there's some other symbol. Or
He's probably a hunter.
Yeah. But he looked at me to see like, huh? You want to do what? I was like, yeah, I'll just pay. And he's like, it's like, oh man, he's like, I'll pay it forward. I was like, oh, no problem and stuff. And, and he tried to shake my hand. I gave him a fist bump and stuff. He said, ever since I came back from the military and stuff, it's just been hard to like find good people. I was like,
They're all around you. They're just quiet.
right. Yeah. So anyway, it was just something that, I felt like I was doing my part to whether that person, I mean, he happened to be a white guy, but I would have done the same thing if they were black,
Yellow,
Hispanic,
brown,
whatever.
Yeah.
But I think it caught him more off guard because I was a black man standing behind him and stuff. Certainly the way that he looked at me.
When did this happen?
2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Craig,
Two weeks
the big shopping day in the Gilman family is on Sunday. So just let me know when you're headed out. And I'll get in front of you in line.
It was. It doesn't happen often, Paul. It just happened that day. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it was just more so the look that he gave me.
Yeah.
Because I know I caught him off guard by one just saying, "Hey, I'll buy your groceries." Like he was not expecting that.
You were here in Ashland?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Right there.
That's wholesome. I like that.
Yeah.
Is the woman at Chili story as wholesome?
Well, the woman at Chili story is a conversation that me and Tony had. So last week, Tony and I went to go play golf. And,
Tony's in town?
He was in town last week. So we hung out and stuff and played golf. And I shot a 96, which I'm actually pretty proud of.
That's not bad.
Oh, I hit a couple of good shots. I hit a drive legitimately 290 yards.
Wow. It had to be wind aided.
No. It rolled a little bit, but the hole was 335, and I had about 45 yards coming in.
What did you end up getting on the hole?
A par.
Okay. That's still good.
Yeah, it sucked, but I should have.
You probably should have had a birdie. But
Yeah, should have. But anyway, so Tony was in town, and after we played golf, we went over to Chili's right here at Virginia Center Commons, and we're sitting outside, and there was a white lady sitting, because there wasn't but two tables. She's sitting out there and stuff, and we were just talking, and she, talks about like how she was just glad to get out and stuff, and the virus, and and the conversation progressed, and somehow she started feeling comfortable enough to tell us that, because you always say, well, how many kids do you have and stuff? She's like, well, I have two daughters. She's like, well, I have three, but I lost two. And this is a 65-year-old white woman from Caroline County. So she's lost two kids. I was like, wow, that's got to be tough, actually having to bury two children. So throughout the conversation, Tony, who military and just hell, I don't even know how to describe him, Paul.
He's a man's man.
Yeah. So I could, Tony was, we were having good conversations, and then the woman all of a sudden said, I don't understand all of this civil unrest and stuff because, I don't see color. I've got black friends. And Tony stopped her right then and there, said Victoria, because her name was Victoria. He said, stop it right now. You know what? That's disrespectful. And she looked at him like her eyes were wide open. She was like, what the hell? What did I say that was disrespectful? It's like
she thought she was not being disrespectful, right. I'm sure. Yeah.
And then I stepped in. I said, no, don't say you don't see color. Said you don't make judgments or decisions based on the color of person that you're talking to. That's much more respectful, because Tony said,
and accurate.
Right. I see you as a white woman. You certainly see us as two black men sitting here.
Because if we were white, you wouldn't have just said that.
Right. So but you hear white people say that a lot of times. Like, I don't see color. Like, we all see color.
Craig, I've known you've been black for 40 years. Yeah.
Like, right. So it's not, so you're not really being genuine when you say you don't see color. So that was, and at the end, like, we probably talked like 45 minutes. This woman, she got up and she said, you guys have opened my eyes today. And this conversation is something that I will never forget. And I'm going to start making a difference in how I interact with blacks and how I engage in conversations and different things. And I mean, quite honestly, I was shocked. I mean, because like I said, here was a 65-year-old white woman living up in Caroline County and stuff, and she was in a Mercedes Benz, and I think her husband was a doctor or a lawyer and stuff. Because I mean, you could tell she had some money and cachet and stuff, and so it was like, hey, that's progress. Mm-hmm. Those are the small little victories, if for lack of a better term. It's not really a victory, but those are things that are eye-opening moments, because I guarantee you, if all of this wasn't going on, she would never have thought about that. And
y'all wouldn't have talked.
No, I look at things as time and place. Like timing has so much to do about success or failure in life. I truly believe that. And I do think that us being there at that time, because we could have sat inside Chili's. Hell, it wouldn't but 10 people in there and stuff. But we decided to sit outside, and she was sitting outside, and we had a conversation that hopefully, will give her a different mindset or perspective going forward.
I think the part the takeaway that I really like from that story is the reaction to the "I don't see color."
Yeah,
y'all could have just walked away, gotten up and been like, "You don't get it. You're an idiot."
Tony is a candid, sincere dude, and he was saying that out of a good place.
Sure, he was.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, saying, "Let's stop you right there and let's talk this out."
Yeah, let's talk to Yeah.
I think that's a good way forward.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, Craig, we've made it through the list.
Yeah.
I had a question that popped in my head a couple minutes ago.
Sure.
Do you think in the late 70s and early 80s, when you and I participated in salt and pepper basketball games, do you think that improved race relations?
Improved? I think that maybe at that point, Paul, we didn't see color.
I mean, I did a little bit, right? Because we called it salt and pepper.
We did. But
I think, it was different for our generation.
It was so different. And I think it did. I mean, I love you, man. You're a good guy. You're a good guy.
Back at you, man.
You're a good guy.
I mean, the fact that 9 black kids on 3 bikes come over to a white neighborhood, or a handful of white dudes go over to a black neighborhood.
Please don't edit this part out.
No, it's fine.
All right, this needs to stay in there.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
But you get my point. Our parents' generation, there wasn't movement across town like that.
No, we were way ahead of the game. We were advanced.
Yeah,
we were.
Yeah, man.
It's a step in the right direction.
So there have been protests that I think are clearly sending a message that we've got to be better as a society. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on what next steps are? What actions?
Well,
anybody can take.
I think it needs to continue. Like I said, this is a marathon; it's not a sprint. But I think we're so polarized, and depending on what lens you look at through all of this and stuff, like you see, because if you listen to Fox, it's all about the rioting and the looters, and if you listen to CNN and MSNBC, it's about, hey, the protests and people doing things the right way and stuff. But we're also everything has to be splashy and sensationalized. And unfortunately, probably the first couple of days, the rioting took more of a precedent than the protests. And I'm glad to see that died down. So I hope that we're on the path to something that is sustained. Because like I said, it can't be the flavor of the month. It can't be. It shouldn't take, for us to see black people getting killed by police or black people getting killed by white people. And the thing is, because we now live in such a era where everything is everybody has a videotape. You get all of these situations that have happened months ago and years ago and stuff, and now everything we're just we can get to a point where I think we're oversaturated with issues, and then I think a large portion of people might mentally tap out because it just becomes too overwhelming.
Yeah, it's too much.
Yeah, and I think what Lauren said a little bit of that, right? It can be exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can find something every single day, no matter where you get your information from. You can find something every single day
to madden you, to frustrate you.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
And it's a huge country. We literally live in a really big country.
We do.
And
Third largest, right, by population.
yeah, and if the media decided to pick really anything,
It's really easy to find something to get mad about.
like
Sure it
lightning
is.
strikes, yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, I try not to get my news from CNN, MSNBC, or Fox.
I'm ready to just check out. I mean,
No, I think they're good sources out there. They're just not obvious,
Yeah.
and they're trying to do journalism. They're not trying to sell.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that group is smaller than they've ever been.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. I watch them all because I can sort of be a news nerd sometimes.
Well, and you can pick out stuff that's
Right. I
useful.
like to hear like how the same story can have three different
Yeah.
How does that
focuses.
happen?
Right.
How does that happen?
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Cool. So, what should Daniel do, Craig?
Be the best person he can be, and you know, just don't be an asshole.
All right.
And I
think that's right.
I don't think the bar is high on that.
It's not. It's a pretty low bar.
I mean, I don't think that's asking too much for people, you know. And when you see an asshole, call it out, man. Just be like, listen,
Hey,
you're
don't
better
be an
than
asshole.
that. Right.
It might be a little inflammatory if you use the word asshole. With maybe a better word choice out there. But
Okay.
Yeah, you guys interject when that stuff. That's the first word I
no, it's fine for this conversation. I think the other point here too is, and look, there are lots of examples of this. But Craig, if you and I disagreed on something, you and I would talk it out.
Sure.
There's not a lot of that going on in this country, at least not as the media portrays it. I think very quietly those conversations are happening. It feels like they're not.
Yeah.
And so this podcast, I think Daniel's with me on this. We're going to bring out conversations, and we're going to have some discomfort in the conversations, and that's okay.
Yeah, you got to have it, man. You got to have it.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but
Yeah, if you're just going to have easy conversations, I'm not sure what we're doing.
no.
Yeah.
You're just going through the motions. Like like I said, man, if stuff isn't genuine, then that's worse than anything. Like seriously, don't do stuff that's not really from the heart, because it comes off as fake, and all that does is just really piss people off.
Yeah. Huh.
Daniel and I have been talking about that the last day or two.
Yeah. I'm trying to find my voice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a way that's genuine.
Yeah, and look, I'm 51. I don't know exactly what my voice is.
I think I feel like Paul's Paul, right?
Paul is Paul.
Yeah. But
I'll take that as something.
I mean that's what it is.
Cool. Anything else you want to talk about, Craig? You're going to end up with an hour and a lot of minutes in your episode.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be good, though. I think people are going to like it, man.
Well, I like I said, I talk from the heart, man. I maybe don't, follow the script exactly. I try to, but as stuff like pops into my head and stuff like, oh, I think that this is important and stuff. And like I said, I've enjoyed this. You guys are great.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
This is awesome.
You were great as well, Craig. We love having you on, man. We've been looking forward to this for you coming back.
Yep.
I was looking forward to the first one because I know you. Daniel had no idea, and then
I went into that one blind, and I lost it the whole time. So good.
I can't wait to hear it because like I said, I can't remember everything.
Dude.
Oh no, I don't have a clue what we talked about a month ago.
I was playing it back the other day, and I just couldn't stop laughing.
He's texting me. He listened to the first 5 minutes. He's like, I've been laughing for the last few minutes.
Yeah, but no, we really we value your perspective and you, and like I really appreciate you sharing all this stuff, man.
No, great guys, great.
Thanks for coming back on, man.
Yep. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to subscribe through whichever app you're using. To share your thoughts, head over to our website at podso1.io, and there you can comment on episodes or send us feedback directly. Thanks for listening.